Hello,
Well, so we are.
everyone. Hello, everyone. Welcome to our webinar today on 5 principles of building better nursing job ads. I'm Patrick Teeley, and we're just letting a few people join the room here as we gear up for our webinar. As I said, I'm Patrick. I'm the Chief Operating Officer at Applichat Healthcare. We host webinars about twice a month on nurse recruitment and HR issues, and we're happy to be hosting the webinar today about improving job ads. So I mentioned that we host the webinars twice a month, but our regular job, daily job, is that we work with healthcare organizations in the US and Canada to help them find and hire more nurses. Our specialty is sourcing passive nurse candidates from outside of the job boards, and then we work with those nurses by screening them and engaging with them to make sure they're a good fit for our healthcare clients. To find out more about what we do and access some of our free resources, please check out my online business card. I'm going to put the link in the chat, and you can contact me there and see all of our links to our free resources to connect with others and hopefully find some good information to help you in your daily work. Included in that is the opportunity to join our Nurse Recruitment Secrets Facebook group. We have a monthly Nurse Recruitment Secrets newsletter. You can view all of our past webinars and sign up for future free webinars. And as I said, you can also connect with me to learn more about Applichat Healthcare's nurse sourcing and screening service. So please feel free to send me a message either here in the chat or on LinkedIn, and we can connect up. You can also book time in my calendar at that link as well. So moving on to today's webinar, our president of Applichat Healthcare, Adam Chambers, and project manager, Jason McCarthy, are going to underline 5 principles every nursing job ad should follow. It will help talent acquisition teams receive more nurse job applications by enticing more candidates to apply for your vacancies once they see your ad. Now, keep in mind, we love it when our webinars are interactive, so please post any questions or comments for Jason and Adam in the chat anytime during today's session, and we'll try to get to those during the conversation. So on that note, I'm going to turn it over now to Adam and Jason. Welcome, guys. Hello.
Hello. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Patrick.
Sure.
Thanks for the intro. I'm going to share my screen, so we've got a little presentation prepared for you all. There we go. So as Patrick said, yes, we're going to have a discussion about 5 principles that here at Applichat we've highlighted as important for your nursing job ads. And the reason we're doing this webinar is threefold. The first one is we spend a lot of time and money on advertising our open nursing positions for our clients. And we thought it would be useful to share some of the learnings with organizations that either can't afford to use an external service and need to do something in-house, or just generally anyone who's trying to recruit nurses, because rising tides lift all boats. And we want to ultimately help nurses get new jobs. And that's a good thing for the system because it keeps more nurses within nursing. It keeps them happier in their employment, and it stops them leaving to do something else. So it's really important. Second point is something that we're passionate about and we enjoy speaking about. So we have these conversations outside of the calls and thought it would be useful to let you all be a fly on the wall. And third point was to give you a chance to ask any questions to us. So please use the chat if you have anything that you want to know, and we can go over that and respond to you. So what we're going to cover today are, as Patrick said, 5 key principles to approaching the creation of a job ad and more broadly a recruitment advertising campaign for nursing openings. I'm going to talk about the importance first of audience, what headline is, what you should include in your advertising headlines, how to sell a position rather than just saying what it is, but to say what it is in a persuasive way, which makes a nurse want to apply to it. The next steps that you should be sharing with a nurse. So what a call to action is, you might have seen that term before, and how to decide what you want the nurse to do next. And then going about the use of examples to inspire your advertising campaigns. Jason, do you have any opening points you want to discuss?
Well, I think, I think a lot of these points come down to just actually being passionate about what you're doing, rather than just trying to check the boxes. So you can learn all of these like key concepts, but it all comes down to like, do you really want to do this? Are you passionate about this? And that's going to come through your ads.
Okay. Yeah. If you're passionate about your organization or helping nurses get new jobs, please put a 7 in the chat. And if you don't put a 7, then have a little think about why. And maybe it's not something that is a good fit for you. We want to first, before I go into the points, I want to say like the overarching thing to remember here is what you put into a job ad is very important and it's very useful to getting more applications, but it isn't going to solve the institutional problems that are in the healthcare space around nursing staffing. So by learning how to create the best job ad possible, you're not going to solve the nursing shortage. So it's important to think about the change that you can make. And there is real change from writing better job ads, but don't get too downbeat or upset or demotivated if you can't solve the staffing shortage of your organization. And if you're being pressured by the high ups to do that, then it's important to network and communicate with other people working in healthcare talent acquisition, because everyone's going through the same problem of short staffing. So I wanted to just take a moment to say that, because it's something that you generally would maybe feel uncomfortable bringing up in a team meeting. And just to remind everyone that like we work with a lot of healthcare recruitment teams, and every single one of them is struggling right now, and you're never going to fill all the open positions. It's so important to be relaxed about that and accept that. So without further ado, let's talk about what we can change. And the first one is audience. So this is a principle of advertising in general. And essentially it's this: you need to consider who is going to see your ad before you create it. So think about who exactly is this advertisement speaking to. So we've got an example of some ads we created a while back. I'm just going to share them on a different window here so you can see them. And I want you to think about like who is the audience for this ad and how is this ad speaking to the audience. So here is essentially the headline of the ad. It's the top piece. And we've said, are you a tired travel nurse dreaming of a place to settle down? This hospital system on the North Carolina Coastal Plains will pay for you to visit and grant a 10,000 retention bonus. So put in the chat if you want, who is the audience that we're speaking to. I think it's fairly clear here at the start. And the strategy for this was thinking about who will be interested in what our organization has to offer. So some places have high pay, some places have great benefits. This organization was located in an area that people are moving into, coastal North Carolina, for better weather if they're from the north, or a lower cost of living. And unlike a lot of places, they paid for nurses to visit. So we thought about what market is potentially open for this system, and we latched upon people that are doing travel nursing, so they are fairly mobile and they wouldn't really have a fixed home right now, but they want to settle somewhere that they'll enjoy. So in this ad, we attempted to speak to them, and that group really matched what the organization had to offer. And you can see we made some fun pictures around that, and we put this on social media, and we were getting a couple hundred of applications a month for this campaign. So in this example, we thought about, what does the organization do? What can it offer nurses? And then who is the audience that will be attracted by that? And then went out and spoke to that audience. Jason, what do you think about that? Do you have any thoughts on speaking to the right audience?
Yeah, well, I've previously spoken about like little hacks you can do to like get to know your audience, like going on to subreddits to basically get to know the kind of language and what subjects people are speaking about, so you can really get to learn it. But other than the hacks, it really comes with time and like the time and the care of staying in a particular space and getting to know that audience. And you'll find that you'll naturally start to speak in their voice and write for them, rather than just trying to like make it up as you go along, and hopefully you're speaking in their language. So yeah, it just comes with time and care, and really getting to know the space that you're in.
Yeah, and that can be quite difficult at the start, but as time goes on, you will get to know it more. And especially if you're advertising, for example, an ICU position, then those ICU nurses are going to be quite a different audience to a home health position or a rehab position. So time interacting with different specialties of nurses will also inform your skill in speaking to a particular audience.
Yeah, absolutely. It's not just the voice of the nurse in that umbrella term. Yeah, each specialty comes with its own voice.
Mm-hmm. Each specialty, each age group. If you're trying to get nurses to relocate, each region. So let's say I'm in the Pacific Northwest, where there's a lot of rain, and I've got an ad in Arizona, and I've got an ad in New York, for example. I know that's a long way to relocate, but people do it. I'm going to want to talk a little bit more about the luscious green landscape and the fact that it isn't dry as a bone to the Arizona nurses. Yeah. But in New York, they're used to rain and greenery. So you're going to need a different type of offer to them.
Yeah, that's absolutely. It's just it's the care of like knowing every detail. It's not something that you can just wing. It's knowing every detail about the position, about the area, and about the audience, and putting all of that together. You'll soon find that you're writing stuff that speaks to people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So a summary for this point: think about where is the nurse that you're advertising to? What is their specialty? And then think about what's unique about the opening and the organization, the area the hospital's in, and then write the ad with those two things in mind. The opposite to that is writing one ad for every type of nurse from anywhere, because that is often quite general. It doesn't speak to them as people. So consider the audience whenever you're planning out your advertising campaign. Next, we have the headline. And I've got some nursing jobs in Houston on Indeed. to point out where a headline works practically. That's because on Indeed, they will tell you to put the role title as the job title. So you can't really put an eye-catching headline in there. But whenever it comes to the full job description, what you write here really needs to catch the nurse's eye. So to backtrack a little bit, we're going to talk about what actually is a headline when it comes to job advertising, Jason.
Well, so headline at its simplest form is there to catch the attention. And, so obviously if someone is looking, for example, for a staff registered nurse job, that will naturally catch their attention. But then if you look at Indeed, there could be maybe 20 that just say staff registered nurse. So the headline has to have something a little bit extra to speak to them, to show them like, this is the role for me.
Yeah, the headline's really the first thing that they see. And you can see on Indeed that if we're saying that Indeed want the role title, then what flexibility do you have around the headline there? First of all, you can put in like that it's virtual, and you can see here that Houston Methodist to put in the shift. So that might catch the eye someone seeking nights or virtual more than just registered nurse. But particularly what caught my eye was they have a salary box here. You can see here that it's estimated, this one. And for a few more, it's estimated this. And I know that you're actually able to put the real salary in, even though that isn't a common thing. And we've found if people have some idea of what the earning bracket is, then it makes them more likely to apply because they know what they're going to get. You can see this one's got 77 to 95 grand a year. At this point of their journey, what you really want them to do is click on that ad and then reach the job description, which should really read like an ad as well. That's what you want them to do. And we find if you have the salary range in here, then they're more likely to do that than somewhere where it isn't in there. And that really is the point of the headline. It's to get their interest, it's to start them thinking about the position, and then get them to take the next step, click on it, and read more. You can see here with some of them, it's estimated it, and it is much better if you actually put it on there yourself rather than letting Indeed decide what it is.
There was an old copywriting book that I read a few years ago. It's like when you're creating like ad copy, it's all about like creating a slippery slope, and each new element you add to it is adding more oil to the slippery slope. So the person reading it just literally cannot stop. So when you have the headline and then you have like the salary estimation, and then in your actual copy, it's got to be showing them like, okay, but what do I have to do for the money? Like, and so it just keeps them going from place to place.
Yeah.
And there's many techniques you can use to do that. The main thing is getting the person reading the ads saying yes in their mind and not saying no. So it can be used a lot of like people ask questions in the ads like, would you like to have this?
Yeah.
And it's like a rhetorical question because it's like, yeah, of course I would. But straight away you've got them saying yes, and so that's them engaged in your ad.
Yeah. So let's see. If we look at if we look at the various sort of openings that these ads have, you can see that this one doesn't provide anything. And you can see this one says the Harris Center is looking for a nurse to join our team. The nurse provides care. Duties include. So its headline is really, it's here with the pay, but it's also here really because that's the start of the slippery slope of reading about it. And you can see that it's very much based on their organization and the duties of the position. If you compare that to somewhere like here, it's talking a little bit more about the nurse, what the ideal nurse looks like, or in terms of their background and their experience. And then this one, which I say is the better of the three, it talks about how nurses can become better and collaborate with physicians and learn. And I think this one makes someone more likely to continue reading than if it just starts to launch in to talk about the role and the requirements. So what you say at the top, which we would call the headline, is important to keep them reading. And it's great if that is about what the candidate will gain. So if you look here, I've got 7,775 jobs in Houston for the nurse keyword. The burden's really on you to stand out and win the attention of the nurse. Often people flip it around where they say, you must have this is what the nurse does, must have that. But it's a buyer's market. The candidate's got so many options. You really need to be speaking to them rather than speaking about yourself and waiting for them to listen, because they don't know who you are frequently and they don't share the same interest or passion in the organization as you, unfortunately. So it's important to have something big at the top of your ad copy or here in the headline. If you're not on Indeed, you have much more flexibility on what you can say and try and catch people's eye and make it about them. What about selling the role then, Jason? I've got to share with people a little bit of a survey that we ran on Facebook to see why people would change jobs. What would you say is important to consider when you're writing the body of the ad and trying to sell the role in that?
Yeah, well, one thing is just to make it simple and easy to digest. And the way to do that is listing benefits. That's why it's so successful in like blogging or like YouTube videos, these list videos of like 10 greatest movies or whatever, because it's very easy to digest for people. And straight away that like, yeah, you're going to get this information thrown at you. So yeah, this can work for job ads as well. 10 benefits of working in this hospital. And these benefits can range from like the monetary benefits to the area where they work, or just the day-to-day working, like why it's good to work there. So if you're really struggling with an ad, just writing out a list of benefits could really become the entire body of your ad, because that's what people want to see when they're reading a job ad. Like, how will this benefit my life? Is this better than my current role? Why is it? And yeah.
Okay. And I think it's important to highlight here, whenever we say benefits, we don't mean the health, the vision, the life insurance package, the benefits package. Benefit here is how a feature of the job, like the pay or the shift pattern, or a feature of the organization, like its history or its size, directly improves, positively affects the candidate's life. So the feature of you paying 10% more than anywhere else in the city is a benefit to that nurse because they will have more spare cash at the end of the month to spend on their family or their hobbies or to save. So thinking about what is interesting about the hospital is step one, and then step two is thinking about why would that be interesting to a nurse who's in our audience, and there you'll have the benefit to the candidate.
Mm-hmm.
We've got a lot of surveys, so if you want the survey, put the word survey in the chat and we'll send it to you. We've got a lot more from nurses, and I think it's interesting that people here mention so many different reasons as their number one. I'd love to put my finger on the top three, but there's such a diversity. We see that paying well is important to them. So whenever you're selling your opening, if you don't pay well, think again about the audience. It's not going to be that nurse who wants to earn as much as they can. It's going to be that nurse that wants to work somewhere with great values and reputation or tradition. And often those who pay low but still manage to recruit nurses have some sort of value system or history or some good thing about their culture, which makes them attractive. And it's important to get clued into that. And again, stuff like this, just reading surveys like this one, talking to other team members who have more direct contact with the nurses to discover what do the candidates want these days will help you think about what features of the organization and the job are unique and special, and then turn those into benefits that you can then sell to the candidates. So whenever we talk about the body of the ad, we really mean this piece here. So this piece, I think, often is a copy and paste of the job description and requirements. And it doesn't really have to be that way, because if you're doing this en masse approach, you only have to create the ad copy once, maybe a few times if you're doing multiple specialties. But it's very low amount of work required if you're creating something to advertise on your website or a job board, to put in an attractive, almost a salesy couple of paragraphs that tell the nurse, this is why we're amazing, and then this is how it benefits you. That's what I have to say about that, Jason. Anything else?
You hit nail on the head, really. I was going to say about like structuring it. If you just write out the benefits and then next to it, you just write out a list of why each benefit is good for the person, why it's good for them, and your body is completely done, because that's all you really need to know. And then then you can put some stuff actually about the hospital just to fill it out, but the main chunk of it is that it's like what's good, why is it good for me?
That's it. It's like a burger. The bap, I don't know what you call it. The bun or the bap or the bread is the feature, and then the benefit is the meat inside. You need to have them both, because no one just eats the bread of the burger.
Wow.
Well, I'm sure there's someone. I have a friend who just eats the meat part, but let's do something else. I think I would just eat the meat part of that too. If you had to choose between the bread and the meat.
If I had the choice between the bread and the meat, yeah, I'd eat the meat.
Yeah. And the benefits are like that. Like if you just say, this is how your life will be different, and that's more engaging and interesting to them often.
Yeah.
So now we're going to talk about number 4 out of 5, which are the next steps. So Jason, what is a call to action and why is it important for nursing ads?
Yeah, so a call to action is at the end of the ad, where now that you've got them at the end of the slippery slope, at the bottom, what do you want them to actually do? What was the point of them reading this ad? So your call to action directs them very clearly to perform an action, and this action would be apply for the job or sign up for more information.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, simple as that.
Yeah.
So your ad definitely needs to do this. I'm just seeing these ones on Indeed, because nurse needs to know what to expect next. And think of it like a story. So you've told the first chapter, and you need to tease the next chapter so that they keep on reading. And there's a number of things that you can do here. Like you can say, just apply now if you're interested. You can say, apply now and you'll receive a call within the next few days if you match our needs. But you want to think about the principles we've already spoken about, like the headline and selling the position, to come out with something that makes someone want to take that step to apply. Because by asking them to apply, you're asking them to spend 5 to 10 minutes filling in a form. And then also teasing the future in a way that will keep them engaged. So saying something like, if this is you, then we would love to speak. Click apply now and we'll reach out to you within 72 hours. If you don't hear back from us within that time, give us a call, send us an email, and we'll talk to you soon. You can also even add in a little bit of a salesy line to the part. So if your headline is we pay 10% more, you could say, want to earn 10% more than anywhere else in the city. Click apply now, ... So really, this is your opportunity to remind them of why they've read this far, restate the headline if you need to, and restate some of the selling points, and then make it very clear what they can expect to happen next.
Yeah, I think the use of numbers, for example, like apply now and we'll call you within 24 hours. This specific like number makes it more real. So it gives an expectation where it's not like just a wishy-washy thing. I'll apply now, I'll never hear anything. It's like, we will call you within 24 hours. So it's like urgency and reality. So I think this is a good technique.
I think though, we should put in after that though something if they don't hear, because inevitably someone's not going to be called within 48 hours.
Yeah. Well, yeah, as much information as possible. I think like the call to action, we're so used to these apply now buttons that the call to actions have become this very small thing. But I think like a call to action done well can be very specific and just, use a lot of instructions and expectations.
Yeah, I agree. We've found in our ads, like we've tested out different wordings, like learn more, click apply now, click here to take the next step. And definitely apply now is the best that we've found.
It's the number one.
Yeah. I think that is obvious, but it also speaks to everything else in creating ads, which is keep it simple. and use short sentences, and don't try and overcomplicate it unnecessarily. Just
And
say, yeah,
use authority as well. Like something like learn more is kind of like too wishy-washy. Like apply now gets to the point. It's like, oh, maybe you want to learn more before you apply. I don't mind if you don't. You really want to, like, grab the bull by the horns and be like, apply now.
Yeah. I'm going to skip to some examples. We've shared a couple of these before, but this is a style of advertisement we've seen used where you are authoritative because you're telling them what the bad, particularly this one, like what the bad things are about the position, and then like telling them what the great things are to them. So how can I word this? By highlighting the bad, then it's like, for example, in Japanese philosophy, they think about the space around something much more than we would in the West. So if you look at the flag of Japan, it's got the red dot in the middle and then this grand white space around it. If you look at the flag of the UK, we've got lines going everywhere and colors galore. I'm not even going to mention America's flag. So in Eastern philosophy, space is much more important. And in ad styles like this, it's not so much what they're saying that is great about it. It's what they're saying is bad, and like sometimes what even isn't in the ad, which draws the attention. So by saying things like "this is not for you if," or "here's what's bad about the opening for most people, but here's what's good about it for the perfect person," you can really catch people's eye a bit more.
Yeah, well, it's a subversion of expectation as well. Standing out.
That was what I was looking for.
Yeah, I thought you was going down the Japanese philosophy route to try and get there.
I just my new resolution is to like read more books and then let that seep into the webinars or the coaching. But see, it's pretty raw. So,
I've been doing that too. I've learned a lot about cavemen recently. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So, yeah. We'll talk about that another time.
Yeah. Coming soon. So this point's about using examples of other campaigns that you can find online. I want to highlight this one, which is for healthcare system in Scotland, and it's not so much for trying to get existing nurses, but it's trying to get people to join the nursing profession. So if you have any conversion programs from LPN to RN or CNA upwards, then things like this where you're advertising real people, you're saying the effect they have in the world, you can entice people that maybe aren't completely satisfied with what they're doing now, and they think that they could be more or do more or affect greater change. So here's another one for if you're trying to get nurses to come back into the profession after leaving. I know that is something that is proving fruitful for a lot of places right now. Then I like this headline: "Once a nurse, always a nurse."
Yeah, it's kind of like a badge of honor kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good headline.
So, and this point is really about not existing in a vacuum and letting yourself look at what other people are doing. That could be on Indeed, although there's a lot on there, so you might have to troll through it. But like, look at the leader in your market, look at the leaders nationally, see what they're doing, and try and seep that into what you're doing. So using examples. Here's the last one. This is for relocation, and it's playing on that joke of people walking into a bar. Thought that one was all right.
Yeah.
Often we find that it can be easy for things to get too general, especially if you have a lot of approval to go through. So the main point of importance is keeping the core message simple and keeping it actually specific as well, and not letting that get whittled away by all the approvals. So
you don't want to be too experimental, really. You want sort of like keep to a sort of well-known structure and sprinkle some experimental into it.
Yeah, exactly. So any closing comments, Jason?
From what we've covered, I think we've covered quite a lot of it so far. I think the number one thing is, before you do any of this, is just get to know your audience. Because if you have a great knowledge of your audience, everything will flow. You won't really have to think about writing these ads.
Yeah, exactly. I will briefly recap the points. So that was number one, audience. Know who you're targeting and what you can provide them as a job and as an employer. Then put that into an eye-catching headline that summarizes things succinctly and in a way that will make people sit up and take notice. If you can put the pay in there, that's great. I think it was California, or it might have been Oregon, that pay is now mandatory. Well, it's going to become mandatory to include in job ads. So that is something that could hit your state at some point. So consider that. Sell the role. So don't just say the duties, but say what the features and the benefits of it are. And then tell the candidate what the next steps are in an appealing and exciting way. Finally, take inspiration from other examples from local and national leaders. And if you want any help, then reach out to myself or Jason on LinkedIn, and we'll be happy to have a chat. So I'm going to stop the sharing. I can see that we've got Melanie is interested in the survey, and so is Stacey. So we will send both of you the survey, and we can see there's Kathy and Mike and a couple more people. We've got William, Emma. So we'll be sending out the surveys after this. If you have any more questions, please put them in the chat now, and I'm going to hand it back to Patrick, who will share a couple more things and then alert us if there's been any questions.
Sure, yeah, that's great. That's getting lots of response to the survey results. I had a few emails from people as well. The folks who mentioned in the chat that you'd like the survey, if you could also send me a message in LinkedIn or an email, that would help us to make sure we find the right person and get that to you. So you can reach out to me at that link again, and I'm putting that on the screen here as well. Michael, I've also added you to the list for the future webinars, so thanks for that as well. And so at my link, you can find our future webinars, our past webinars, our Nursery Group Secrets Facebook group. We've had a few people sign up in the last hour, and all of our other resources, so please reach out to us there. We do host the webinars, as I say, once or twice a month. Next one will be probably in early November. We'll send a notification out about that soon, so please stay in touch with us. If you connect with me on LinkedIn, I'll be able to make sure you get those notifications. And we look forward to having more interesting topics. Always interested in people's topic requests as well for us to cover. And also guest speakers. So if anyone's interested in covering a topic with us, please let us know that as well, what you're interested in sharing with us. So that's it for today for me.
Do you want to mention that opening, or is that
It's Phil. So one of our, I was going to
Okay.
mention one of our clients is filling a recruiter position, but I just got notification that they filled it. So on our next call, we'll see if we get any of our clients have positions available for recruiters. But yeah, connecting with us on LinkedIn and linking with our network is a good way for people to find job openings and new opportunities for your talent acquisition career as well.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Great.
Thanks. Before we go, I've got a question. Webster Cassius says, what do you do when posting an ad on Facebook and you get negative experience from upset ex-employees or other angry folks? So with this one, and he also says, not saying you know them, but we all know if it's a big company, you're going to have your fair amount of complaints. So you have a few options. You can either hide that comment so people can't see it. You can respond to the comment, or you can make a new ad that won't have the comments on it. And what we advise to do is respond to the comments that are reasonable in a way where you don't get into an argument with the person. So you don't want to create a long stream of back and forth responses because that can quickly get out of hand. Ways you can respond diplomatically are to saying like, thank you for your feedback. Here's the appropriate channel to share that in, and getting better is important to us. By doing that, you're putting it in the right box, and you're also giving them a bit of an opportunity to speak, and then you're kind of ending this current comment thread rather than responding to it there and then they respond to you and then you respond to them and it gets a bit messy. If it's abusive or swearing, then we would say hide the comment because you don't really want that. You don't want profanities attached to your ad, so you would hide it. But generally, it's better to say, like, acknowledge them and then point them into the right direction to share that feedback in a way where it will actually be meaningful and taken on board.
And especially because it's specifically a negative experience from the past he was asking about, you could actually show how like the hospital has developed on since then. So if it was a negative experience with pay, you could show like, oh yeah, here is how their pay has increased since that time, you know? So give an example of how things have improved.
Yeah, well, thank you for the question. So that's about it from us. Thank you all for joining, and follow our channels, as Patrick said, for the next webinar. Thank you. See you later.
Thanks, everyone. See you next time.
Cheers.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.